Adventures on the Sword Coast, Chapter 6. It is late afternoon as the party regroups after their encounter with the bandits. With the drizzle continuing to fall, they decide to press on to Togold Mine and seek shelter. As they head down towards where Don John believes the mine entrance is located, they are joined by Fairfax Whitbeam, who set off from Fandolin shortly after the rest of the party had departed. Amos the Destroyer inquires if he had finished doing his magic stuff, to which Fairfax looks back at the barbarian with a disdainful look. As Don John had not actually been to Togold Mine, they have to search the undergrowth for the entrance. This is not too difficult as it has not been purposely hidden, and a break in the bushes soon reveals an opening to a cave. Amos invites Don John to lead the way, to which he enters the cave and shouts loudly inside, "Howdy you all, what's up?" Alexis Songblessed advises caution and asks Don John for one of his weapons. Puzzled, he pulls out his dagger and Alexis casts a light spell on the object. To Don John's amazement, his dagger is now illuminated, so he promptly starts to write his name in the air. "Welcome," a voice can be heard to say from within the cave. Fairfax Whitbeam prepares for what is to come by casting mage armour on himself. After all, he is the most lightly armoured member of the party. "Come on in," says the voice. Princess Lady Anastasia and Zurek join Don John in the entrance to the cave. Zurek checks his insight, and although the voice sounds human, it is possibly animalistic. Alexis casts Divine Sense, but does not detect anything untoward. As they move further into the cave, they see that these creatures have whiskers. Zurek mutters, "These are no dwarf miners." Unsure of these creatures, Don John steps behind the two fighters. As Princess smiles and says, "Don't you want to be at the front, Don John?" Zurek notes that there are two doors leading off from the cave and that the two humanoid creatures appear to be sniffing the air. The nearest one says, "Well, do you not want to see the boss?" Princess uses her intelligence to determine what they are, but is still unsure. Zurek acknowledges the request and the two creatures escort the party into one of the tunnels, around a corner and through a door into another cave. Here the party are introduced to Lady Zelene and 5 other humanoid creatures. The other 2 return back to the cave entrance. Presumably they are guards. Introducing himself and the party, Zurek asks what has happened to the dwarf miners. Lady Zelene says, "Some ran away as they are no match for us." Zurek responds, "Why did you come here?" To which Lady Zelene explains that they were chased away from their last home. "Who chased you away?" inquires Amos. "Why, the Orc Raiders," replies Lady Zelene. Don John seems unusually quiet during the conversation. Alexis asks, "What are your kind?" To which Lady Zelene replies, "Rat folk, but we don't like that term." She goes on to explain that if only all the dwarfs had run away when they arrived, they would not have had to kill the ones that decided to remain. Alexis asks Don John what he wants to do about the situation. He thinks it would be good to negotiate for the release of the mine. Alexis asks Lady Zelene if the rat folk could become miners, or even kill a dragon, to which she replies, "Not really." However, Lady Zelene suggests that they might leave the mine if their old home was vacated by the Orc Raiders. Princess Lady Anastasia is not impressed with these folk, and says under her breath, "Perhaps we should give them the same choice as the miners." Don John seems happy to stay at the mine and continue to negotiate with Lady Zelene. Don John says to the party, "Ain't got nothing to pay you all to help me, but you are in a gold mine." As he says this, the party look around and notice ribbons of gold glistening off the walls in the torchlight. Alexis asks, "What did you eat yesterday? I suspect it may have been dwarf meat." Don John says, "Are you going to eat me, Lady Zelene?" Who replies, "Depends if you are hostile," stroking her whiskers as she speaks. Meanwhile, Amos, who is still carrying the unconscious bandit leader on his shoulder, drops him on the ground and asks Lady Zelene to take care of his prisoner, at which point two of the rat folk excitedly whisk him away down a corridor. She asks Amos if he wishes to stay the night in the mine. A firm "no" is heard in reply. Lady Zelene agrees to leave the mine if the orcs are removed from her temple, the Shrine of Savras, and gives clear directions to its location. Just follow the Trebor Trail east and it is a few miles to the south of Conyberry. Don John seems quite comfortable staying at the mine with Lady Zelene and her folk while the party remove the orcs from the temple. Making a note of the cave entrance, they set off north towards Trebor Trail. As they hear the voice of Don John in the distance, "You all have a nice journey. Don't you worry about old Don John." As nightfall approaches, the party make camp near the Trebor Trail. Zurek performs a survival check and deems it safe, with good all-round vision and not hostile. Campfires are lit, food and drink are consumed, then the party settles down for a well-earned long rest. Alexis Songblessed takes the first watch as the light rain begins to stop at last. Zurek then Princess take the other watches, and soon dawn breaks after an uneventful night. In the morning, Zurek performs a perception check on the surrounding area for orcs or dragons, but all seems fine. The party of adventurers continue east along the Trebor Trail. With no other traffic on the road, it is strangely quiet, apart from the occasional singing from Alexis Songblessed, accompanied by a cowbell. The party estimate that it is at least another day's march to the Shrine of Savras, so they decide to camp for a second night just off the road, with Princess Lady Anastasia agreeing to take the first watch, followed by Fairfax Whitbeam. Not long into the night, Princess performs a perception check and notices hovering from the ground an orb of light, pale green in colour. As Fairfax Whitbeam is due to take the second watch, she prods him to wake him up and whispers, "What is that light?" pointing at the pale green orb some 100 feet away. As he watches the light, Fairfax sees a second orb, purple in colour, that starts to slowly dance around the other one. Fairfax decides to walk towards them, but each time he does so, the orbs move an almost equal distance away from him. After walking about 100 feet from the camp, a third orb appears, orange in colour, and joins the other two. Fairfax retraces his steps and returns back to camp. The orbs follow and stop about 100 feet away. Princess, using her intelligence check, whispers, "So magical." Then, performing an investigation, Fairfax determines that these orbs are indeed magical. With a further arcana check, he realises that he has encountered this type of magic before, while en route to the dwarven excavation at the farm with the animated scarecrows. Princess and Fairfax decide to wake the others up. Zurek has to get a slap from Fairfax before he comes round, while Amos just complains by saying, "What are you waking us up for in the middle of the night?" as Fairfax points at the orbs dancing on the perimeter of the camp. "Can't you just shoot them with a bow?" says Amos. Zurek takes out his heavy crossbow and fires at the orange orb. It hits, but just passes harmlessly through the shimmering light. The orbs splay out as if disturbed by the crossbow bolt, but then cluster back together again a few moments later. Zurek suggests following them, but Amos shouts, "Follow them? It's a trap!" As Zurek lights his lamp to see better, he tries to flank the orbs and moves to their left. Amos decides to follow his lead and takes the right flank. Fairfax and Princess move down the centre, with Alexis bringing up the rear. Each group is about 10 feet apart. As they slowly advance, they gradually start to reduce the distance between themselves and the orbs, which seem to be leading the party in a particular direction. Then all of a sudden the ground gives way and they all fall down into a muddy pit some 20 feet in depth, apart from Alexis, who manages to stop short of the opening. Luckily, the majority of the party take minimal damage, as using their dexterity they land on their feet, apart from Fairfax, who, taken by surprise, lands in a heap on the rocky surface below. Alexis Songblessed watches the lights float away and disappear into the distance. Alexis then throws a rope down to the party below, as Fairfax grumbles that he didn't fall into the pit as he was bravely bringing up the rear. Zurek investigates the pit under his lamplight and notes that it was probably created magically by removing a 20-foot square piece of earth just below the surface of the grass. As Fairfax continues to grumble, with his robes covered in mud, Zurek carries him out of the pit. Amos tries to follow, but loses his grip at the top of the pit, falling back down with a thud as he cries out in pain. Princess slips back down straight away, unable to get leverage on the steep muddy sides of the pit. Alexis uses his bardic inspiration to encourage Princess, who tries again and manages to climb out of the pit. Fairfax Whitbeam, still grumbling, looks into the pit at Amos and says, "Let's leave him in there." But Alexis throws the rope back down to Amos, who reluctantly takes it and lets Zurek and Princess haul him out of the pit. Now muddy and tired, Amos just wants to go back to sleep. Back at the camp, Princess Lady Anastasia casts prestidigitation to clean all the mud off the party members, who quickly take advantage of a long rest. In the morning, Zurek uses his perception to check for dangers in the area, paying particular attention to the mountains in the distance. As they continue towards the shrine of Savarus, Zurek suggests that the party approach from the high ground using the hills to the south. After all the drama from the previous night, Fairfax refuses to lead the party, stating that it needs to be a fighter type up front. They arrive to the south of the temple mid-afternoon to see a belfry to the right of a ruined castle-like structure. It used to have a tower at each of the four corners, now only the north tower remains. In this turret there appears to be a humanoid figure, presumably a lookout for the building. After some debate, the party decide they need someone to scout ahead. No one steps forward, so taking the initiative, Amos the Destroyer heads off towards the ruins, trying to be stealthy. Alexis has another idea and considers trying to stop Amos, but too late. He is off and is making his way towards the ruins, closely followed by Fairfax. As he approaches the southeast tower, a loud voice shouts out, "Strangers approaching from the south!" Amos turns to Fairfax and says, "Don't worry, I'll protect you." Zurek, hearing that the alarm has been raised, rushes down the hill towards the ruin of the left tower. Princess tries to close the gap between her, Amos and Fairfax, who are about 200 feet away. Amos the Destroyer moves towards the centre of the ruin where the wall has fallen down, and is met with a blood-curdling sight of 2 ogres running towards him from the left. These great hulking giants are over 10 feet tall and weigh close to 1,000 pounds, with huge muscles and notorious for their quick tempers. Amos instinctively throws 2 javelins at the closest ogre. Only the first one finds its mark in the creature's arm. Brushing the javelin off, the ogre booms out, "Oi, little man!" Following the ogres are 2 orcs, which in return throw javelins back at Amos, one of which catches him with a glancing blow. Fairfax Whitbeam advances to join Amos. Deep in thought, he summons great power to cast a devastating fireball at the advancing creatures. The 2 orcs are immediately incinerated in a 20-foot blast of fire. The ogre at the back yells out in pain, his skin blistering. Only the lead ogre escapes the majority of the blast. Alexis runs down the slope in an effort to join the combat and defend his fellow adventurers. As one of the advancing ogres throws his javelin at Fairfax, who uses his staff of defence to cast shield to deflect the missile. The other ogre dashes forward in a temper to smash the sorcerer who burnt them with his fireball. Princess also runs forward to join the melee as Amos the Destroyer, in a rage, attacks the badly injured ogre with his great axe. His first swing misses, but in a frenzy he then lands 2 solid blows on the creature. Another ogre lumbers down from the top left of the ruins, throwing a javelin as he strides forward, but it misses Amos. Fairfax Whitbeam now casts Eldritch Blast as 2 beams of crackling energy streak towards the nearest ogre. One of these finds its target and blasts the creature with force damage. Another ogre appears from the top right of the ruins. The odds are now stacking up in the enemy's favour. The party of adventurers have a fight on their hands. Alexis continues to dash down the hill in an effort to join the fight, as yet another ogre appears from the top right, accompanied by an orc. Zurek runs up and around the lead ogre, who turns and shouts, "Hey, big man," and swings at him with his great club, which makes contact with the side of Zurek's head. The ogre bellows, "Leave now, puny little people." The ogre chieftain manoeuvres around Amos the Destroyer, wielding what appears to be a massive chain. Swinging it around, the mighty weapon smashes into Amos, blood splattering everywhere. Only his good constitution saves him from being knocked out by this blow. Princess Lady Anastasia, sensing the danger from this ogre's weapon, joins Amos in the fight, and in a rage recklessly swings her great axe and stops the beast dead in its tracks. Amos glances at Princess with a look of surprise. Amos then collects himself and runs to attack the next closest ogre that is battling Zurek. He misses with his first blow, but then lands 2 swings with his great axe, to which the ogre wobbles and then falls down dead. Amos looks back at Princess with a wry smile. Another ogre stomps down to hit Zurek, but misses. In reaction to this attack, Zurek swings back at the ogre, landing a solid blow on the creature. Fairfax casts Eldritch Blast again. The 2 beams streak towards the advancing ogre on the right. One finds its mark. It falters slightly, but continues down to Princess, where it smashes into her. Fortunately, Alexis sees this attack coming, and using bardic inspiration, manages to avert the blow. The ogre yells out, "How did I miss that little woman?" Moving forward, Alexis, wielding his spear with his flag, gets an advantage from fighting next to Princess and hits the ogre 3 times, blood staining the flag in the process. The other ogre on the right lumbers down towards the melee and throws its javelin at Fairfax, but misses. The fight is now joined by 4 more orcs. One charges down from the right, the other 3 from the left. 2 throw javelins at Zurek, both hit, 1 critically. Zurek makes a flurry of attacks on the ogre next to him using Action Surge and Second Wind. He then moves up towards one of the advancing orcs. Princess recklessly attacks the ogre she is in combat with using her great axe. One of her 2 swings lands a solid blow to the creature. Amos the Destroyer, still in a rage, strikes the ogre in front of him down with 2 swings from his great axe. Then he joins Zurek and lands a 3rd blow on the advancing orc. Fairfax casts Magic Missile at the unengaged ogre, darts piercing his leathery skin. The ogre next to Princess lands a solid blow with his club, but the bludgeoning damage has reduced effect on the barbarian. Still waving his flag attached to the spear, Alexis Songblessed, still gaining advantage by fighting next to Princess, stabs the ogre a further 3 times. It starts to wobble and falter in its tracks. The unengaged ogre approaches Amos from behind and swings his club, but hits the wall instead. The orc to the right throws a javelin at Fairfax Whipbeam. He uses his staff of defence again to cast Shield to deflect the missile, but it does not save him this time. One of the orcs advancing from the left attacks Zurek, connecting his great axe with his torso. Another orc attacks Alexis, but he uses Cutting Words to distract the orc and cause him to miss. Another orc circles around the back of Fairfax and attacks him, but he casts Shield and the invisible barrier deflects the blow. Zurek continues attacking the orcs, landing 2 blows, one of which is critical and floors the creature. He then turns and hits the orc next to Fairfax and moves up to the ogre in combat with Amos. Princess continues to press home her attack on the ogre and drops him with one final swing of her great axe. She then runs over to protect Fairfax and recklessly hits the orc attacking him. Amos the Destroyer attacks the last ogre and lands 2 solid blows with his great axe. The creature sways drunkenly after the vicious onslaught. Fairfax casts Shocking Grasp on one of the orcs, who takes punishing lightning damage. Alexis also moves up and lands a further 3 blows on the orc with his spear using Smite and Polearm Master, his flag waving in the blood-filled air. The last ogre standing swings his giant club at Zurek and hits. Alexis then uses Cutting Words to cause the ogre to miss his 2nd swing. The orc takes this opportunity to attack Alexis, but misses. The orc attacking Amos hits him and his great axe, but the damage is minimal as Amos continues to rage. The other orc hits Princess again, but feels little pain as she too is in a battle rage. Zurek attacks the last ogre standing, who now sways from side to side, bloodied and battered. He then shouts, "Get a move on," to Fairfax, who is able to safely withdraw from the combat with the orc. Princess Lady Anastasia, now in a blinding rage, strikes the orc in front of her dead with 1 blow, then turns to the last ogre standing and fells him with a mighty blow from her great axe. Amos and Zurek look on in amazement. Amos now lands multiple blows on the orc next to him as Fairfax jumps back into combat with the other orc, casting Shocking Grasp as lightning burns the creature's arm. He then leaps back. Alexis Songblessed, waving his flag proudly, impales the orc still reeling from the lightning damage, who slumps forward, dead. Then moving towards the remaining orc, he takes a swipe with his spear but misses. The final orc runs away from Alexis shouting, "Oh, too strong, too strong!" Zurek pulls out his heavy crossbow and kills the fleeing orc with 1 carefully aimed shot. The party of adventurers regroup in the ruins, surveying the dead ogre and orc bodies. Princess takes the specialised chain from the ogre chieftain and considers how it could be used in battle. Others replenish their javelins. With blood dripping from the flag, Alexis Songblessed turns to Amos the Destroyer and says, "I could have cast invisibility on you so you could have scouted the ruins without being seen." Amos, with a wry smile, turns to look at Alexis and says, "Can you lead with that next time?"